Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something simple yet life-changing. Success is not a matter of intensity. It is a matter of consistency. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can feel inspired for a week. But the person who becomes unstoppable is the one who shows up long after the excitement fades. You see, we often admire people at the top. We look at their achievements and say, they're talented, or they're lucky. But what we don't see are the ordinary days, the quiet mornings, the disciplined evenings, the repeated efforts when no one was watching. Greatness is never built in one dramatic moment. It is built in the small, repeated actions that stack up over time. Consistency is the bridge between intention and accomplishment. You don't become powerful because you wish to be powerful. You become powerful because you do the right things over and over again, especially when you don't feel like it. Discipline is simply choosing what you want most over what you want now. Here's the truth. The world makes way for the person who refuses to quit. Not the fastest, not the smartest, but the most consistent. If you improve a little each day, if you keep your promises to yourself, if you stay committed when others grow tired, there comes a point where momentum begins to work in your favor. And once momentum joins discipline, you become very difficult to stop. An unstoppable life is not built on giant leaps. It's built on steady steps. It's built on keeping your word. It's built on practicing when you don't feel like practicing, learning when you don't feel like learning, and pushing forward when comfort calls your name. So today, we're not talking about being extraordinary once in a while. We're talking about being consistent every single day. Because when your habits become stronger than your excuses, when your routine becomes more powerful than your emotions, that is the moment you become unstoppable. Motivation is powerful, but it is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you wake up feeling inspired, ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you don't feel like doing anything at all. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your results will always be inconsistent. That's why discipline must be greater than motivation. Discipline is doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. It is the ability to act in spite of your moods. The amateur waits until they feel inspired. The professional gets to work regardless of how they feel. And over time, that simple difference separates those who wish from those who win. You don't build a strong body by working out only when you're excited. You don't build a successful career by putting in effort only when you're in the mood. You build it by showing up on the days when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when no one is clapping for you. That's where real growth happens. The greatest transformation always occurs behind the scenes, in the quiet moments of commitment. Here's something important to understand. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Anyone can start strong. Very few finish strong. Discipline is finishing what you started long after the excitement fades. It is keeping your word to yourself. And when you keep promises to yourself, you begin to build self-trust. Once you trust yourself, your confidence grows. And once your confidence grows, your results begin to multiply. The world respects consistency more than enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is loud but temporary. Discipline is quiet but permanent. If you train yourself to act on principle instead of emotion, you become stable. And stability creates progress. There will be days when you are tired, distracted, or discouraged. Those are the days that matter most. Because when you act anyway, you strengthen your character. And character is far more valuable than talent. If you truly want to become unstoppable, stop negotiating with your feelings. Decide what must be done, create a simple plan, and follow it daily. Let discipline guide you. Over time, you won't need to feel motivated. Your habits will carry you forward. And once your habits are aligned with your goals, nothing can stand in your way. Success is not the result of one extraordinary action. It is the result of small, repeated efforts performed day after day. We often overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can do in a year. The secret to becoming unstoppable lies in understanding the power of small daily improvements. Imagine improving just 1% every day. It may not look like much in the moment. In fact, it may even feel insignificant. But small improvements, when compounded over time, create remarkable transformation. Just like money earns interest and grows, your efforts earn results and multiply. The key is patience and persistence. Most people quit because they don't see immediate progress. They plant the seed today and expect the harvest tomorrow. But life doesn't work that way. Growth is silent. Progress is often invisible at first. The roots must grow deep before the tree rises high. If you stay committed to small daily disciplines, reading a few pages, practicing your craft, improving your skills, managing your time wisely, those small actions begin to stack up. The danger is not in aiming too small. The danger is in being inconsistent. A small action done daily is far more powerful than a massive action done occasionally. Anyone can have a productive day. Few people can string productive days together. That is where the magic happens, in the repetition. Small daily improvements also build confidence. When you finish what you planned for the day, even if it's minor, you strengthen your belief in yourself. That belief fuels the next action, and the next action strengthens the belief even more. Before long, momentum begins to carry you forward. Don't look for dramatic breakthroughs. Look for daily progress. Make your bed, keep your promises, learn something new, practice your skills, improve your attitude. Each step may seem small, but together they create unstoppable force. In the end, success is not about doing big things once in a while. It's about doing small things consistently. When you respect the process and trust the compounding effect of daily discipline, you set yourself on a path that few are willing to walk. And that path, walked long enough, leads to extraordinary results. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is the habit of keeping promises to yourself. We often talk about integrity in terms of how we treat others, being honest, dependable, and trustworthy. But true integrity begins within. It begins with the commitments you make when no one else is listening. When you tell yourself you will wake up early, study for an hour, exercise, or finish a task, that is a promise. And every time you either keep it or break it, you shape your identity. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, something subtle happens. Your confidence begins to weaken. You may not notice it immediately, but deep down you start doubting your own word. You say you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow comes and goes. Over time, you train yourself not to trust yourself. And without self-trust, it is very difficult to build success. On the other hand, when you consistently keep even small promises, you build inner strength. If you say you will read 10 pages and you do it, you win. If you say you will practice for 30 minutes and you follow through, you win. These may seem like small victories, but they are powerful. Every kept promise becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Success is not just about skill or opportunity, it is about character. And character is formed in the private moments of decision. The world may not applaud you for waking up early or completing your daily tasks, but your mind records it. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That self-image changes everything. Start small if you must. Don't promise yourself 10 hours of work if you've never done 2. Build credibility with yourself gradually. Make realistic commitments and honor them. As your discipline grows, increase the standard. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. When you trust yourself, hesitation disappears. Doubt fades. You no longer waste energy arguing with your own intentions. You decide and you act. That kind of self-alignment creates momentum that is hard to stop. In the end, becoming unstoppable is less about conquering the world and more about conquering yourself. One promise at a time. Consistency is powerful on its own, but when consistency is sustained long enough, it creates something even more powerful: momentum. And momentum is what makes a person unstoppable. In the beginning, everything feels heavy. The effort seems large, the results seem small, and progress feels slow. But if you continue, if you refuse to break the pattern, something begins to shift. Momentum works like a flywheel. The first push requires tremendous effort. You push and it barely moves. You push again and it moves a little more. At first, it feels as though nothing is happening. But with every consistent action, you build energy. Eventually, the wheel begins to turn with less effort. What once felt difficult now feels natural. What once required discipline now becomes habit. This is why consistency creates advantage. Most people stop in the early stages when effort is high and reward is low. They mistake slow progress for failure. But those who understand momentum stay with the process. They know that every repetition strengthens the pattern. Every day of discipline builds invisible force. Momentum also changes how others see you. When you are consistent, people begin to rely on you. They expect excellence. Opportunities begin to come your way because you have proven you can be trusted to deliver. Reputation is built on consistency, and reputation attracts growth. But perhaps the greatest benefit of momentum is internal. When you build it, you no longer struggle with starting. You are already in motion. Action becomes your default setting. Instead of debating whether to work, you simply work. Instead of waiting to feel ready, you move forward anyway. The beauty of momentum is that it multiplies. A consistent fitness routine improves your energy. Improved energy boosts your focus. Better focus increases productivity. Higher productivity builds confidence. And confidence encourages even greater action. One disciplined habit begins to influence every area of your life. If you want to become unstoppable, focus less on dramatic breakthroughs and more on daily consistency. Protect your routine. Guard your habits. Stay committed long enough for momentum to take over. Because once you are in motion and momentum is on your side, stopping becomes harder than continuing. And that is when you truly become unstoppable. Becoming unstoppable is not about moving fast. It's about moving faithfully. It's about showing up again and again until your actions become automatic and your progress becomes inevitable. Consistency is what transforms effort into identity. When you repeat the right behaviors long enough, they no longer feel forced. They become who you are. At first, every action requires conscious effort. You have to remind yourself to stay focused, to avoid distractions, to complete the task. It feels unnatural. It feels uncomfortable. But with repetition, what was once difficult becomes familiar. And what is familiar becomes easy to sustain. That is the quiet power of consistency. It reshapes your habits, and your habits reshape your life. Many people chase motivation because it feels exciting, but excitement fades. What remains is your routine. If your routine is weak, your progress will be weak. If your routine is strong, your progress becomes steady. And steady progress is far more powerful than occasional bursts of energy. It is the steady drip of water that eventually carves stone. Consistency also simplifies your life. When you commit to a standard and stick to it, you eliminate unnecessary decisions. You don't wake up asking, "Should I work today?" You've already decided. You don't negotiate with your goals. You execute. That mental clarity frees up energy for growth rather than internal debate. Over time, consistency builds resilience. When setbacks come, and they will, you don't collapse. You adjust and continue. Because you are not dependent on perfect conditions, you are dependent on your habits. And habits are portable. They go with you wherever you are. The truth is simple. The person who refuses to break their pattern of effort will eventually outperform the person who relies on bursts of talent. Consistency closes the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It may not look dramatic from the outside, but inside, it is building strength, discipline, and character. When your daily actions align with your long-term vision, progress becomes automatic. You don't need applause. You don't need pressure. You don't need to feel extraordinary. You simply keep going. And in that steady, determined rhythm, you discover something powerful. You are no longer trying to become unstoppable. You already are. In the end, becoming unstoppable is not about talent, luck, or perfect timing. It is about who you decide to be every single day. It is about choosing discipline over mood, progress over excuses, and commitment over comfort. Anyone can feel motivated for a moment. Very few decide to be consistent for a lifetime. We have talked about discipline over motivation, because feelings will change, but principles must remain. We have talked about small daily improvements, because greatness is not built in a day, it is built daily. We have talked about keeping promises to yourself, because self-trust is the foundation of confidence. And we have talked about consistency creating momentum, because once you are in motion long enough, success begins to work in your favor. The truth is simple. You don't become unstoppable overnight. You become unstoppable by refusing to stop, by showing up when it's inconvenient, by doing the work when it's boring, by staying committed when others drift away. That steady persistence builds character, and character, more than anything else, determines your destiny. There will be setbacks. There will be slow seasons. There will be days when progress feels invisible. But remember this: progress is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is simply the decision to continue. And that decision, repeated enough times, changes everything. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Don't wait to feel ready. Decide who you are going to be. Set your standards and honor them daily. Let your habits speak louder than your words. Let your routine carry you when motivation fades. Protect your discipline as if your future depends on it, because it does. If you stay consistent long enough, if you improve just a little each day, if you keep your word to yourself and allow momentum to build, there will come a point when quitting feels harder than continuing. And that is the moment you cross the line from ordinary to unstoppable.